Some people walk through the world feeling that something greater is happening around them, even if no one else notices. It's as if there were a kind of silent alert accompanying each step, a subtle perception that makes everything feel deeper. Those who carry this sensitivity are often called exaggerated, intense, or reserved. But in truth, this unique perception reveals something far more significant: the mark of a chosen one. The chosen don't just experience what happens on the outside. They feel what's happening on the inside. They can detect changes in the atmosphere, perceive hidden intentions, and sense emotional pressures that others ignore. This makes many ordinary situations feel too heavy, while simple things gain a depth of meaning that few understand. This ability is not a flaw, it's a sign. It's proof that a greater purpose is moving quietly within their lives. Over time, this spiritual sensitivity becomes impossible to ignore. The chosen begin to notice that when they grow stronger internally, the environment around them reacts. The energy shifts. Some people drift away, others draw closer, and everything starts to reorganize itself with a precision that seems to come from somewhere beyond. It's not coincidence. It's preparation. Every challenge, every silence, and every inner transformation shapes these individuals for a path that's not always easy, but always necessary. And before we continue this journey, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is George, and it's an honor to guide you through this content. If you feel that you belong to this group of people who see beyond the ordinary, don't forget to follow the channel. Here, every video was created for those who know their story carries a greater purpose. Let's go together. When a chosen one begins to awaken to who they truly are, many changes occur silently, without them realizing it immediately. What changes first is not the external, but the spiritual field surrounding their life. Their vibrational energy rises, and this creates a visible difference for those who dwell in denser spiritual realms. To human eyes, nothing seems different. But to the invisible world, everything transforms. A chosen one is not perceived simply as another person living in the world. They are seen as a moving light. This luminosity has nothing to do with physical appearance or external behavior, but with the spiritual strength awakening within them. When that light begins to shine, lower frequency spiritual beings feel the impact immediately. It's as if an intense flame begins to pierce through the darkness. That's why so many chosen ones report feeling a sudden heaviness, restlessness, mental confusion, or even unexpected challenges. These movements do not arise by chance. They are reactions from the spiritual realm to the recognition of the light that has been ignited. For the chosen one, this process may seem inexplicable, but for the invisible world, it's a clear sign that something has changed, and changed greatly. The perception that a demon has of a chosen one is completely different from human vision. It doesn't see skin, facial expression, or posture. What it sees is the energetic field surrounding the chosen one, and that field is marked by spiritual symbols that cannot be erased. The light surrounding them carries the mark of the Creator, and that causes deep discomfort to the darkness. The chosen one often doesn't understand why certain environments become uncomfortable, why some people drift away, or why their sensitivity increases. This is not fragility, it's alignment. When one spiritual frequency rises, everything that vibrates in disorder starts to create internal conflict. These are natural reactions of someone beginning to walk in a different direction. Demons perceive this change because it produces a vibration that breaks spiritual barriers, and when that happens, a silent conflict begins. Not a physical war, but an energetic, emotional, and mental battle. The confused thoughts, unexplained fatigue, sudden anxiety, and even feelings of discouragement are attempts to dim that light. But here's an essential detail. The more the chosen one resists, the more their light grows. Every time they remain firm, pray, meditate, or simply preserve their peace, they strengthen their own energy. This bothers evil because it reveals a simple truth. They cannot reach what God has set apart. The recognition of the chosen one in the invisible world is instantaneous. Even before they know who they are, the darkness already knows. And it's this recognition that stirs so much movement around them. Hell does not fear the appearance of the chosen one. It fears the authority they carry, often without realizing it. This awakening does not make the chosen one superior to anyone else. It makes them more aware of themselves. And it's that awareness that has the greatest impact. When they begin to remember who they are, the entire spiritual realm reacts, both light and darkness. When the chosen one awakens, the spiritual world does not remain neutral. It reacts. This movement is not random. It's a response to the level of spiritual authority that begins to emerge. And it's at this point that many chosen ones face the most delicate phase of the journey: silent resistance. This resistance does not appear only as direct attacks, but as a set of sensations meant to confuse, distract, and weaken the chosen one's inner strength. That's why they may feel emotional heaviness without explanation, racing thoughts, sudden discouragement, irritability, insecurity, and even a sense of loneliness. These spiritual symptoms are not signs of weakness, but of impact. The kingdom of darkness reacts because it perceives something the chosen one is only beginning to discover. The most common strategy used by darkness is mental manipulation. Unable to touch the chosen one's spirit, it tries to influence their emotions and perceptions. That's why thoughts of doubt appear out of nowhere. Am I really special? What if I'm imagining all this? Did God truly choose me? These thoughts do not come from the heart. They are attempts to separate the chosen one from their true identity. Another strategy is creating distractions. When a chosen one is about to enter a phase of spiritual growth, situations appear that seem like opportunities, but are actually traps. People show up bringing confusion. Toxic relationships masquerade as solutions. Easy paths try to pull their attention away from purpose. This happens because darkness knows that as long as the chosen one remains connected to their essence, they grow stronger. Emotional resistance is also common. Close people may turn against the chosen one for no clear reason. Misunderstandings arise, rejection occurs, and relationships grow tense. Not because evil controls people, but because it tries to exploit emotional weaknesses to wear down the chosen one's heart. And here lies one of the greatest secrets of this battle. The demon does not fear the chosen one who speaks beautifully, who appears outwardly strong, or who knows much about spirituality. It fears the conscious chosen one, the one who recognizes their patterns, identifies their weaknesses, and understands their mission. Because that kind of person is impossible to manipulate. As the chosen one matures, the spiritual world realizes that its distractions no longer work. And this is where evil truly begins to fear. The chosen one starts to see what once went unnoticed. They recognize silent attacks, perceive strange energies, understand when a situation is unnatural, and learn to withdraw without losing peace. This maturity transforms the chosen one's energetic field. Where confusion once existed, now there is clarity. Where there was fear, there is now firmness. Where there was doubt, there is now confidence. And this vibration is unbearable to darkness. Spiritual awakening is not just remembering who you are, it's learning to defend that truth. And when the chosen one learns this, they cease to be a target and become a threat. When the spiritual world identifies that a chosen one has awakened, a silent movement begins around them. Darkness does not arrive with noise, but with subtleties. Everything begins in an almost imperceptible way, trying to affect the inner world before touching the outer. The goal is not to bring down the body, but to destabilize the mind and pull the chosen away from their center. The first strike appears as distraction. Nothing arrives looking negative. Quite the opposite. Attractive opportunities appear, connections that seem promising, and situations that look like open doors. But slowly, all these things begin to drain energy, time, and clarity. They exist to distance the chosen one from the inner path they are beginning to build, keeping them busy moving in the wrong directions. Then comes the doubt. It appears as thoughts that don't match the voice of the soul, but try to disguise themselves as one's own reasoning. Questions arise out of nowhere. Am I exaggerating? Do I really have something special? What if none of this is real? These doubts are planted to create internal cracks and paralyze the chosen one's spiritual growth. Soon after, the emotional attack manifests. The heart of the chosen is deep, and that sensitivity becomes a target. Small situations turn into big conflicts. Close people seem out of sync. Misinterpreted conversations create unexpected tension. The goal is to cause exhaustion and make the chosen one feel misunderstood or isolated, because that weakens them emotionally. Another common attack is energetic heaviness. The chosen one wakes up tired for no reason, feels their body heavy, and notices a mental fog that prevents clear thinking. This weight doesn't come from physical effort. It appears as spiritual resistance. It is darkness's reaction to the expansion of the light they carry. The more their spirit shines, the more evil tries to press against it. Despite that, these strategies have no authority over the chosen one. They cannot touch their essence, erase their purpose, or stop their progress. They are only psychological attempts meant to convince them to give up on themselves. Evil has no power to destroy them. It only tries to manipulate their emotions so that they weaken on their own. When the chosen one begins to recognize these patterns, everything changes. Confusion gives way to discernment. Heaviness turns into awareness. Fatigue becomes learning. They begin to understand that attacks don't mean defeat, but recognition. No one tries to bring down what poses no threat. Resistance is confirmation that their light is growing. With this understanding, they become stronger and more observant. They recognize when a thought doesn't belong to them, when an emotion was provoked externally, and when an opportunity is merely a distraction. Their entire posture changes. They stop being vulnerable to the unseen and become aware of every spiritual movement around them. With every failed attempt against them, it becomes clearer that darkness doesn't attack because of their weakness, but because of the strength they carry. The more evil tries to extinguish them, the brighter they shine. The more it tries to divert them, the faster they return to alignment. The chosen one realizes that none of this happens to destroy them. It happens to reveal who they truly are. There comes a moment in the chosen one's journey when everything that once seemed confusing takes form. It's as if a curtain were lifted from their eyes, and the spiritual world became more evident. They no longer see only events, but the backstage behind them. They begin to perceive the intention behind emotions and the hidden energy within situations. This perception brings a clarity that completely transforms their posture. The chosen one begins noticing patterns in environments, sensing when something is misaligned, and identifying where the weight hitting their mind originates. It's as if their intuition had been amplified. They begin to see the reason for the attacks and to understand the value of the light they carry. Upon reaching this level, a silent authority is born within them. They no longer need to argue, justify, or announce changes. Their presence speaks for itself. Their energy becomes steadier, more centered, and harder to manipulate. This inner strength destabilizes what lives in darkness, because now the chosen one sees the game, and by seeing, they cease to be an easy target. Darkness feels this change immediately. The increase of the Chosen One's light impacts environments once dominated by chaos. Their presence transforms the atmosphere. People around them notice that something about them has changed, even if they can't explain it. Their energy exposes falsehoods, blocks manipulations, and reorganizes spiritual dynamics. As this clarity grows, the Chosen One understands that many moments of heaviness were actually training. Isolation served to make them stronger. Sensitivity was never weakness. It was a spiritual radar. The pain refined their vision to see the invisible. Everything that once seemed like loss was part of the preparation for this new level of awareness. This change makes the Chosen One impenetrable. They stop being guided by fear or confusion. The old traps no longer work. Negative thoughts lose their power. Evil realizes it no longer has access to the openings it once exploited. And that terrifies it, because a conscious Chosen One becomes extremely dangerous to the darkness. From this stage forward, the Chosen One understands that their awakening was not accidental. They realize they were led to this point, strengthened within, and trained through experiences that now make sense. They finally discover that true strength does not come from resistance, but from awareness, and that awareness makes them untouchable. When the demon realizes that it cannot directly weaken the faith of the Chosen One, it changes its strategy and begins to attack something even more important: purpose. It knows that the strength of a Chosen One lies not only in their light, but in the spiritual impact that light produces in the world. That is why it tries, in every possible way, to distort the path the Chosen One was born to walk. This interference is subtle and begins in the mind. It appears as restlessness, impatience, or excessive worry about the future. The goal is to break the natural trust that the Chosen One has in divine timing. When the heart is agitated, vision becomes limited, and that makes it easier to create ideas that do not come from the soul, but from the shadows. It is common for the Chosen One to begin thinking they have lost time, that they are behind, or that they should be living something different. This sensation is created precisely to distance them from the present, because it is in the present that purpose reveals itself. The farther they drift from the awareness of the now, the easier it becomes to divert them from their true path. One of the demon's most effective strategies is to confuse gifts with burdens. It makes the Chosen One believe that their sensitivity is a weakness, that their heart is too big, or that their desire to help others is naive. By distorting their essence, it tries to turn it into a weight. It tries to make the Chosen One doubt what makes them unique. When this tactic fails, the attack shifts to the environment. Loved ones begin to drift away, not because they wish harm, but because they are influenced by the resistant energy that evil sends around the Chosen One. Conflicts arise out of nowhere. Simple conversations end in arguments, and important relationships begin to lose harmony. The goal is to make the Chosen One feel alone and abandoned. Loneliness is one of the most commonly used weapons in this process. Not because it destroys, but because if misunderstood, it can make the Chosen One believe they are on the wrong path. When no one seems to understand their vision or recognize their worth, evil tries to whisper that perhaps the purpose isn't real. But that feeling isn't truth. It is only part of the spiritual construction. What the demon never understands is that the isolation of a Chosen One is fertile ground. It is in silence that spirit speaks loudest. It is in distance that purpose reveals itself most clearly. It is in stillness that the soul aligns with what it was born to do. And when the Chosen One finally understands this, the attempt to divert them completely unravels. The attacks start to lose power when the Chosen One realizes that nothing they experience is random. Every closed door, every separation, and every discomfort serve to refine their vision. They discover that purpose is not something to be found out there. It is something that blooms from within, and therefore it cannot be destroyed, only strengthened. Evil tries to confuse, but it cannot stop the calling from resonating inside the chosen one. Purpose is like a divine seed buried deep within. It may be pressured, delayed, or temporarily suffocated, but it can never be removed. It is inscribed in the essence, written in the soul, and guarded in the spirit. In the end, the demon realizes that there is no way to erase the destiny of someone marked by the light. The more it tries to distort, the more the chosen one awakens. The more it tries to hinder, the more the purpose reveals itself. And every silent victory of the chosen one becomes a defeat for the darkness. It finally realizes that the mission of the chosen one is not fragile, it is indestructible. There comes a point in the journey when hell completely loses access to the chosen one. This doesn't happen suddenly, but through a deep process of healing, awareness, and spiritual growth. It is the moment when the chosen one stops living from fear and begins living from identity. They understand who they are, where they came from, and where they are being guided. This change alters the entire atmosphere around them. The energy that once felt heavy now becomes clear. The mind that was once troubled by doubts now functions with discernment. The emotions that once fluctuated now gain stability. The chosen one enters a state where they no longer react impulsively, but choose their steps with purpose and serenity. The demon, observing this, feels something it would never admit: loss of control. Everything that once worked, emotional manipulation, mental confusion, external distractions, begins to fail. The chosen one sees the attack before it even happens. They recognize the intentions behind situations. They realize when an energy does not belong to them, but tries to connect. At this stage, the chosen one's silence becomes a spiritual weapon. They don't need to speak, argue, prove, or confront. Their presence is enough. The light they carry becomes so intense that evil cannot remain near for long. The demon tries to approach, but the vibration no longer allows it. The chosen one's spiritual field becomes an inaccessible territory. What makes the chosen one untouchable is not the absence of problems, but the maturity to not be controlled by them. They feel the pressure but do not collapse. They face difficult days but do not lose their center. They notice the attempts but refuse to be shaped by them. Their spiritual strength surpasses every attempt at control, and this terrifies the realm of darkness. The demon fears a chosen one who can no longer be triggered by the old mechanisms. It can no longer use guilt because the chosen one has forgiven themselves. It can no longer use fear because the chosen one trusts in the purpose. It can no longer use loneliness because the chosen one recognizes that they have never been spiritually alone. When the chosen one conquers their own inner shadows, something definitive happens in the spiritual world. Evil stops seeing them as a target and begins to recognize them as an authority. Not because they shout, impose themselves, or try to prove their strength, but because their consciousness has changed. They no longer define themselves by the pain they have lived, but by the light they have chosen to carry. This inner change creates a real impact in the invisible. The air around them feels different. Their presence carries firmness, and their energy brings clarity to those who approach. The demon senses this transformation even before the chosen one realizes it. It recognizes that this soul is no longer within reach of the old strategies, and that forces it to retreat. The reason is simple. A chosen one who reconciles with themselves becomes invincible. No matter what arises around them, their foundation remains firm. They no longer seek external approval, no longer carry old guilt, and no longer allow fears that once shaped their vision to guide them. The Chosen One finally understands that the true battle was always within. When evil tries to come close again, it finds a light so stable that there is no way to penetrate it. The Chosen One sees the attacks before they become problems, recognizes thoughts that are not their own, and refuses to surrender their peace as they once did. This spiritual maturity closes doors that were once ajar and strengthens the territory of the soul, making it unshakable. At this stage, evil stops trying to destroy and simply observes from a distance. To the demon, the Chosen One becomes a living reminder of what it can never be again. Every firm step, every conscious choice, every act of light disturbs it, because they show that the Chosen One's strength does not come from circumstances, but from the divine origin that created them. And here lies the conclusion. An awakened Chosen One doesn't just survive evil, they overcome it. They transform pain into clarity, silence into power, and wounds into doors toward purpose. The journey was never about defeating external demons, but about being freed from the inner shadows that once allowed their entry. If this message touched you in any way, comment below with one word that describes how you feel right now. I truly want to know what this message awakened in your heart. You are not alone, and your light is greater than you imagine.